What does that mean?
Okay, let's make a start. Bore da, croeso canisiawn. Very warm welcome to today's much delayed meeting of Powys County Council's Cabinet. The first item on the agenda is apologies, and the first thing I must do is apologise for the delay for all those attending and indeed observing. So that's that apology out the way. Do we have any other apologies, please, Carol?
No, Chair, we don't.
Right, thank you. We are in a hybrid meeting. Most, I think if not all cabinet members are here, a number of senior officers and a number of officers joining us remotely as well. I have members of the council who are not members of the cabinet also wishing to speak on a couple of items, and I'll invite them in at the appropriate time. So thank you very much for attending, members. Shall we move swiftly to the minutes of the previous meeting, please, which is on page 3 to 6 of our agenda pack. Members will have already read those. Are they? Can I have a proposer for those and a seconder as a true record of what took place, please? I have a proposer of Councillor Matthew Dorrance, seconder of Councillor Richard Church. Could I have, please, a show of hands indicating your approval or otherwise? Is there anybody against? No, that's carried. So thank you very much. So let's move on to declarations of interest. Are there any declarations of interest on items on the agenda that members need to declare or indeed officers need to declare? No, none. If anything occurs to members during the meeting, please do not hesitate to indicate. Thank you. So item 4 into the substantive part of the meeting, which is to an item on establishing a Welsh medium stream at Ysgol y Criball. And we have it in the name of Councillor Pete Roberts. Please, the portfolio holder. Thank you.
Thank you, Leader. This is the final stage of the school's organisation code process for changing the status of the school. On the 7th of March, the Cabinet approved the publication of the statutory notice proposing to, and I quote, make a regulated alteration to formally establish a Welsh medium stream at the Ysgol y Criball from September 2023. That initiates the statutory notice and moving to objections period, and we are now receiving the objection before. There was one objection raised during this period. I'm now going to pass across to the Director of Education, Annette Ruddle, for her to take you through the objection and the response from the council to that. And then following any discussion, we will move to a formal resolution.
So as you have seen in your report pack today, the objection report is part of the pack which you have. The objection report, the background is there in the objection report about the statutory process carried out in the proposal to establish the Welsh medium stream at Ysgol y Criball, and to make the proposal is as follows, which Councillor People come to later, but to make a regulated alteration to formally establish the Welsh medium stream at Ysgol y Criball from September 2023. As Councillor Peter just said, the summary of the objections received are in the report. There was one objection received during the statutory objection period, and the issues that were raised in the one objection are summarised in your pack today. The issues that were raised in section 3 of the objection report. The first issue was around governing body being notified of the consultation period, and to note that the consultation period was notified to all the schools in the area. We didn't have a response from Ysgol y during that consultation period. The next issue was around the fact that around the indicating the catchment of the Welsh stream. At present, the catchment area for Dyffryn y Glywyd includes the whole of the Maes of Erwin catchment. So the response is there to the local authority. The third issue that was raised in the one objection is around the Maes of Erwin school modernisation process, which took place in 2012. And Powys informed the Welsh Assembly that Ysgol Dyffryn Ysgol Gymraeg Dyffryn y Glowyr would be an area Welsh medium school, and that's why the full figure. The council's response there is that Ysgol Gymraeg Dyffryn y Glowyr was established in 2012 as a Welsh medium school to serve the whole catchment and was built as a 300-place school to allow for future growth in pupil numbers. That growth has been realised, and the school is a successful school in that area and is one of our largest primary schools, and we still need to grow the Welsh medium provision across the county. The fourth issue that was brought up in the one objection is around the transport policy, and the words living closer Cribeth, which was stated, are not clear. The council's response there is, as stated in the notice, that transport for pupils attending Ysgol Cribeth will be provided in accordance with the council's home to school transport policy, and then it goes into stating the transport policy within the local authority response. So those are the four issues and the one objection to this report today. Thank you.
Thank you. Do I have any other members wishing to speak? No? Okay. Yeah, I'm sorry, I was asking, do we have any other council members wishing to speak? And the answer is no, so I'll pass to Hampton Councillor Alec Davis. Alec.
Thank you very much, James. And I'm still disappointed with this report. This report will produce a dual stream school. It will have poorer outcomes than a single stream Welsh school, and at a higher cost. It will not deliver truly bilingual children. This was an opportunity to introduce a Welsh medium school by having a Welsh medium only classes, reception and year one maybe, and then working it through the school as the children get older. It's very disappointed with this, and it shows a lack of commitment to the Welsh language. Thank you.
Pete, would you like to answer that point? I mean, it's
Yeah,
a fair challenge.
Thank you for that. The comments that Councillor Hyde has just made were dealt with at the statutory consultation stage prior to the objection report. As was demonstrated at that stage, there is strong support for within the community for moving down this particular route, and there was not support within the community coming forward for moving to a fully Welsh medium school, because our strong belief is that moving the Welsh language forward should be done with consent of the community, and to ensure the stability of this school as it moves forward along the continuum. We reached the conclusion at that stage that moving to a fully Welsh medium school would not be in the best interests of both the English medium and Welsh medium pupils in that catchment. There has been no further comment either way on that during the objection report. Therefore, we do not view this as a missed opportunity, but we actually view this as a potential role model school for how we will achieve the West and the new aspirations that are coming through in the Welsh medium measure that has just completed its consultation. So I reject Councillor Davis's view that this is a missed opportunity. I think this is a golden opportunity to demonstrate, not just to this community, but to communities across the county, that if they wish to move their schools forward and embrace Welsh medium education, this is a roadmap that they can follow. And I fully expect to see other schools come forward and progress towards full Welsh medium education as a result of this initiative.
Okay, thank you for that response. Having said that, no other cabinet members wishing to speak. Councillor David Thomas, sorry, and then I'll come to Councillor Owen Vaughan, please.
Thank you, Leader. As one of the local members, I simply wanted to say that I welcome the report, and I have, along with the other local members, supported the process from the very start. It's very pleasing to see that with regard to the objections report, there are no objections from local residents, pupils, or staff. I fully understand the nature of the one objection. I think it's quite justified, but I prefer to read it as a query and clarification as opposed to a straight out objection. So I simply wanted to state, Leader, that I welcome the report and we look forward to establishing the Welsh Medium stream at Ysgol Cribwell. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Fawr. Thank you. Owen, Councillor Owen Vaughan, please.
Diolch yn fawr Arweinydd. I'll contribute in Welsh if it's okay.
Yes, absolutely.
Iawn. Iawn, diolch yn fawr. Diolch Arweinydd. Gobeithio bod chi'n gallu clywed fi. Wel, dwi'n siarad heddiw fel cadeirydd partneriaeth WESP, partneriaeth sy'n neud â addysg Gymraeg, sy'n nifer aelodau wrth gwrs yma ym Mhywys. Y teimlad ydy fod yna groesawu yn gyffredinol i'r datblygiad yma, a fod hwn yn gam ymlaen i ddweud y gwir o ran gweld twf yn addysg Gymraeg yn ardal Cwm Tawe. Ond wedi dweud hynny, mae yna deimlad hefyd dylid gweld hyn fel rhywbeth trosiannol dros dro, a bod rhaid mewn gwronedd symud i ffwrdd o'r sefyllfa a cael ysgolion dwy ffrwd yn y sir i fod yn ysgolion hollol ddwyieithog dros amser. A mae hynny'n arbennig y wir yn ardal Ystrad Gynlais, lle mewn gwirionedd dylai fod yna ddim un person ifanc dyddi yma yn gadael y gyfundrefn addysg nad ydynt yn rigil yn y ddwy iaith. Mae'n werth nodi bod 60% eisoes yn Ysgol Cribbarth yn y dosbarth derbyn yn y ffrwd Gymraeg, sy'n rhywbeth i'w groesawu yn fawr iawn. A felly yr awgrym gan aelodau o'r partneriaeth ydy falle dylid adolygu'r sefyllfa mewn perthynas yr ysgol yma mewn 2 neu 4 blynedd i weld sut mae'r twf yn digwydd mwyn sicrhau fod yr ysgol yn cario ymlaen i fynd ar hyd y continwwm ieithyddol fel bod ymhen amser pob disgybl yn gallu bod yn hollol ddwyieithog yno. Diolch yn fawr.
Leader, you're muted.
Can you hear us, Alan?
Yes, no, yeah.
Sorry, I was saying, in case you missed it, that it's encouraging that the chair of WESP's working group is very much in favour of this process, so that's helpful. Are there any other?
Thank you for those comments, Councillor Owen. And looking at the classifications that are being proposed in the measure coming before the Secretary, so I hope the discussion we will see a Ysgol Cribwell look towards becoming a T2 school rather than just a dual stream school as they start to put forward a plan that will see them move towards fully Welsh medium in due course. Turning to the recommendation, there are 2 recommendations. The first is to receive the objection report in respect of formally establishing the Welsh medium stream at the Ysgol Cribwell. And the second recommendation is to approve the proposal to make a regulated alteration to formally establish a Welsh medium stream at the Ysgol Cribwell from September 2023. I now move those.
Seconded, please. Councillor Matthew Dorrance seconded. Thank you. Would all those in favour of the recommendation please show? Thank you. Are there any abstentions or anybody against? That's fine. Sandra? That's an abstention.
No, I'd like to abstain, please, under different circumstances. Diolch yn fawr.
That's understood. Thank you. And thank you for that. Good. So that is carried. And we can move on to item 5, please, which is Draft Welsh Language Standards Annual Report 2022-23 in the name of Councillor Sandra Davies, please.
Diolch yn fawr, Cadeirydd. Bore da pawb. Before I introduce the draft Welsh Language Standard Report 2022-23 to everyone, I would like to say a big thank you to all the staff that are involved, particularly Sean Rowley, our Welsh Language Officer, for all his diligence in preparing the report. I would also like to thank Emma Palmer for her input in going through the report and polishing it up to the standard for us to hear today. Diolch yn fawr. I'm sure that I will pass over to Sean for him to go through it in depth, but I will just outline some of the main points regarding the purpose of the report. And there's an outline regarding the standards and the sections relating to the data of the council must record, resources, implications, investigations on page 58, the impact assessments, and then there will be an open discussion before putting the recommendations before you. Diolch yn fawr, and I'd now like to pass over to Sean. Thank you very much.
Diolch yn fawr, Sandra. Dwi'n mynd I siarad Cymraeg. Ydy pawb yn gallu ynghlywed I?
Yes. Yeah. Yes, that's fine. Thank you.
Gwych. Wel, fel ddedodd Sandra, mae'r adroddiad blynyddol yn nodi sut dyn ni wedi cydymffurfio a safonau'r Cymraeg trwy'r flwyddyn ariannol ddiwetha. A mae'n disgrifio sut dyn ni wedi cydymffurfio o ran cyflenwi gwasanaethau a llunio polisi a hybu'r Gymraeg. Ac o ran yn llwyddiannau eleni, dyn ni wedi sefydlu panel Llywodraethu'r Gymraeg nôl ym mis Medi, gyda'r nod o cynyddu yn defnydd mewnol o'r Gymraeg trwy'r cyngor. A prif waith hefyd y panel fydd craffu ar lunio a gweithredu yn strategaeth hybu'r Gymraeg ar gyfer y 5 mlynedd nesaf. A dyn ni wedi cael sylwadau a chynrychiolaeth gen pob plaid ar y cyngor ar wahân I un. O ran meysydd I wella, gohebiaeth ydy un ohonyn nhw. Mae Comisiynydd y Gymraeg wedi cwrdd â ni nôl ym mis Rhagfyr a maen nhw'n cynnal ymarferion cwsmer cudd a maen nhw wedi canfod bod cwsmeriaid yn aros yn rhy hir ar y llinell Gymraeg I ni ateb nhw. Ffoniodd cynrychiolydd o'r Comisiynydd 3 gwaith ac ar gyfer 2 alwad oedd yn iawn, ond ar gyfer 1 alwad roedd yn aros am 8 munud a doedd dim ateb. Ac yn y diwedd rhoddodd o'r gorau iddi. Pan mae cwsmeriaid yn dal y llinell on hold, weithiau maen nhw'n aros am 3 munud sydd yn rhy hir. Mae yn siarter cwsmeriaid yn deud byddwn ni'n ateb galwadau o fewn 2 munud. Felly mae rhaid I ni wella yr amseroedd aros ar gyfer yn llinellau ffôn Cymraeg. Mae BetterGov wedi bod yn edrych ar yn gwasanaeth Cymraeg fel rhan o arolwg gwasanaethau cwsmeriaid cyffredinol. A mae hwn yn rhywbeth byddwn ni'n gweithio arno fo yn y flwyddyn I ddwad. Hefyd, mae yna faterion o ran cyflenwi staff ar y prif dderbynfa a byddwn ni'n gweithio I ddatrys hyn. Pan fydd un o staff sy'n ateb y ffonau ar wyliau blynyddol neu yn sâl, mae gennym ni broblem o ran cyflenwi, lle nad ydy gwasanaeth Cymraeg ar gael weithiau yn ystod amseroedd cinio. Maes arall I wella ydy dogfennau ar yn gwefan gyhoeddus. Os oes gennym ni 2 fersiwn o ddogfen, un yn Saesneg, un yn Gymraeg, mae rhaid i'r fersiwn Saesneg ddatgan yn glir ar y tudalen blaen bod y ddogfen hefyd ar gael yn Gymraeg. Ac efo rhai dogfennau doedd o ddim. Felly byddwn ni'n atgoffa rheolwyr ym mis Medi bod rhaid wneud hynny. Mae hyn yn ofyniad statudol. Hefyd, weithiau, dydy fersiynau Cymraeg o ddogfennau ddim yn cael ei diweddaru. Felly mae gennym ni fersiwn mwy diweddar yn Saesneg. Mae hyn yn trin y Gymraeg yn llai ffafriol na Saesneg. Geson ni un ymchwiliad yn dilyn cwyn i tudalennau cynghorwyr, ag roedd rhaid i ni gyflwyno cynllun gweithredu i'r Comisiynydd, a mae'r Comisiynydd wedi cymeradwyo yn cynllun gweithredu. Mae gennym ni 6 mis i unioni a chywiro y tudalennau cynghorwyr lle mae yna nifer o broblemau. Yn gyntaf, mae'r tudalennau Cymraeg yn frith o eiriau Saesneg. Dydy'r ddolen Cymraeg ddim yn gweithio bob tro, a dydy o ddim yn mynd ar defnyddiwr at y dudalen Cymraeg cyfatebol. A mae rhaid i ni ddatrys hyn o fewn 6 mis, sef diwedd mis Tachwedd. Hefyd mae rhaid i ni nodi yr adnoddau ariannol da ni eisiau a chael goruchwyliaeth gen yr uwchdîm arwain. Yn gyffredinol, roedd Caroline Turner, Prif Weithredwr, a'r Cynghorydd Elwyn Vaughan, Cadeirydd Panel Llywodraethau'r Gymraeg, yn teimlo bod eisiau hyfforddiant ymwybyddiaeth iaith ar aelodau a rheolwyr. Achos os da ni eisiau newid diwylliant, mae rhaid i reolwyr ddeall pam da ni'n wneud yn cyn beth da ni am wneud. Ag da ni wedi bod yn trafod hyn efo cwmni ymgynghori iaith, a gobeithio byddwn nhw'n darparu hyfforddiant yn mis Medi neu fis Hydref i aelodau. Bydd hyn wedyn yn rheadru lawr i swyddogion. A bydd o'n atal toriadau o'r safonau. Achos bydd pobl yn deall y bydd dynol o gydymffurfio a safonau Cymraeg. Enghraifft, os oes rheolwr gwasanaethau cymdeithasol yn chwilio am swydd, yn nodi swydd, bydd o'n gwybod, bydd o'n ei hi yn gwybod bydd eisiau cyflogi rhywun sy'n gallu siarad Cymraeg, sy'n gallu trafod pethau dyrys ac anodd efo'r cyhoedd. Felly mae'r safonau Cymraeg i gyd am hwyluso defnydd o'r Gymraeg i bobl weithiau mewn sefyllfaoedd anodd. Yn gyffredinol, mae Comisiynydd y Gymraeg yn falch ac yn fodlon efo sut da ni'n cydymffurfio, ond mae meysydd penodol i ni wella arnyn nhw. Hefyd mae'r adroddiad blynyddol yn argymell bod staff, swyddogion y cyngor yn cael hyfforddiant gorfodol yn y safonau fel rhan o e-fodiwl hyfforddiant gorfodol, achos does dim byd gennym ni ar safonau'r Cymraeg ar hyn o bryd, a mae hynna wedi nodi fel un o'r camau gweithredu. Felly dyna'n nghyflwyniad i, a allai gymryd cwestiynau rwan.
Sean, can you hear us?
Yep, dwi'n gallu clywed.
Councillor Jake Berman, please.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a question, Sean, really it's an observation. So I'm just looking back at some of the data around the self-assessment workbook that we've been looking at for customer services. And obviously there is a whole-scale customer services review through Modern Gov that you've talked about. But the differential between the way that English language calls and Welsh language calls are abandoned are actually very close. And I think what we recognise is that actually the margins are perhaps not as great as is being suggested, and that the response rates for Welsh are that much poorer. I think it's accepted. We need to improve across the board. So just looking back at the numbers, for instance, we had 95,900 calls accepted with 24,200 abandoned. That's 18% of calls. We had 667 Welsh language calls, with 207 of that, that's 23%. So as you can see, this is slightly higher for the Welsh. I know they weren't the figures that you were quoting, and I think broadly we need to improve across the board in terms of numbers. I know I've run and had to wait more than 8 minutes previously. That sounded actually quite favourable to me. So not taking anything away from what you've said, but I do think we need to improve across the board, and that includes Welsh, so that they're treated absolutely evenly. I totally agree with that.
Thank you, Jane. Interesting figures. And I'm sure a lot of members wouldn't realise just how many calls the council does receive. Are there any other? Elwyn, Councillor Elwyn Vaughan. Thank you.
Diolch Arweinydd. Just i ddilyn mlaen yn syml oddi wrth be ddedodd Siôn yna, dwi'n meddwl mae'r adroddiad yma ger eich bron chi heddiw, ond wrth gwrs mae hwn yn gosod cyd-destun hanesyddol. Dwi'n meddwl beth sy'n bwysig ydy'r adroddiad a'r cynllun hyrwyddo fydd yn dod ger eich bron yn ystod y wythnosau nesaf i gwir. Fydd yn rhoi atebion positif gobeithio ar ffordd ymlaen. Dwi'n meddwl beth sy'n bwysig yn y lle cyntaf o ran y Gymraeg ac o ran y drafodaeth yma ydy nodi fod yna ewyllys gwleidyddol trawsbleidiol i ddeud y gwir yn y gweithgor sy'n gweithio efo Siôn o ran hyn. Mae hynny'n egwyddor pwysig iawn dwi'n meddwl, bod y Gymraeg ddim yn belen gwleidyddol. Mae yna bethau o fewn y cyfnod sydd yn dod ymlaen, mae yna yn yr adroddiad sy'n cael ei gyffwrdd yno, sef fel oedd y cynghorydd Jake yn cyfeirio at busnes y canolfan cyswll, a sut mae pobl yn cyfathrebu a cael mynediad at y cyngor, felly mae yna waith pwysig yn digwydd ran hynny. Yr elfen arall sy'n bwysig o ran y flwyddyn a'r misoedd nesaf ydy'r elfen yma o ymwybyddiaeth iaith i gynghorwyr ac i arweinwyr, bobl ddeall y cyd-destun polisi, pam bod ni'n gwneud pethau mewn dull arbennig ac angen gweithredu mewn ffordd arbennig. Dyna'r trydydd elfen, mae dal angen cynyddu y nifer o staff sydd yn rugil yn y ddwy iaith. 8.4% sydd â lefel 4 a 5 ar hyn o bryd. Wrth gwrs, tra bod y cyfrifiad yn dangos y poblogaeth yn 16% yn ehangach yn pwys. Felly dyna'r meysydd gwaith arbennig dros y misoedd nesaf. Fel arall fyddwn ni yn argymell ac yn cefnogi yr hyn mae'r adroddiad yn ddweud. Diolch yn fawr.
There's no sound again, leader.
Yeah, can you hear? Sorry, we'll fix that now, hopefully. Sorry, we're in a delicate technological situation. Far away.
Diolch James, diolch yn fawr iawn i chi. Ac hefyd diolch i Siôn, Elwyn ac wrth sgwrs, diolch yn fawr iawn i Sandra hefyd am dod â droddiad yma i'r Cabinet. I'd like to just very quickly go to the section 4 on the cover report, resource implications there. It is slightly worrying that there are issues whether there's finance in place to address the outcomes of reviews. I think it's number 11 in section 3. There potentially be resource implications to deliver the outcomes of those reviews. Can the Cabinet give assurance today that resource will be made to ensure that those reviews and the outcomes of those reviews are accepted and delivered? Diolch yn fawr.
Yes, I can, from as my position as leader, give that assurance. I think the improvements that need to be made arising from the report are very clear, and they will have to be resourced. I don't know if the Chief Finance Officer wishes to comment, but this has to be done, and it will be.
I'm hoping everybody can hear me. Yeah, Where there are additional resource requirements that aren't accommodated within existing budgets, then of course the environment process will have to consider where that resource can be taken from. But generally, most resource I think will be in existing budgets, but we will keep a keen eye on that and obviously follow the environment process as needed.
Okay. You happy with that, Alan?
Struggle to hear, but I'm sure
Oh.
what Jane said was completely correct.
Well, it always is, isn't it?
Thank you.
Right.
And thank you, Leader, for your commitment to make those resources available. Thank you.
No problem. Jake, is that an old hand or a new one?
No, it's a new hand. I just want to say in respect of some of the work around, some of the work around customer services. Then you're probably aware from historic times that we are still struggling with 2 long-term sicknesses within that service area, and that's one of the reasons why the service isn't currently as good as it might be. So we do have opportunities to going forward on the back of the report that we will be getting to try and take that forward. So there is some capacity in there that isn't firing on all cylinders at the moment. So in terms of utilising existing resources better, I think there is some scope.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Sandra Davies, please, the portfolio holder for this area.
Thank you, Leader. I just want to thank the speakers who have raised some of the points that are relevant to this report. I do feel passionately about the Welsh language, although I'm not a Welsh speaker myself. And that's why I was a little hesitant to say too much on the document itself. But I can assure you that I do believe that we should be promoting Welsh throughout the whole of Powys. And I do strongly believe that it's the future for our youngsters in the schools, so that they come out of the schools having 2 languages, not just one. If we ever go to France to visit, everyone speaks there through the medium of French, and we are in Wales, and I think that we should too be proud of our language, and our first language should be Welsh. We have a long way to go. We've dipped, and we have to pick up steam. Get back to where we were with our statistics from 16% to 19%, and then move forward. And I'm sure that collectively the will is there, and we've just assurance regarding the funding. Obviously, we all keep a tight eye on the budget, and we try to do the best within the limits of our budgets, but we have the reassurance that we will provide this statutory duty. Diolch yn fawr. Leader, if you want me to move the recommendation, I'm happy to do so, unless there are further questions.
I have no further people indicating to speak, so yes, if you'd move the recommendation, please.
Thank you very much. And the recommendation is to approve the draft Welsh Language Standard Annual Report 2023. That is attached as Appendix A for it to be published on the Council's public website by the 30th of June 2023. And the reasons for the recommendation is to provide a review of work undertaken during 22-23 financial year to ensure compliance with the Welsh language standards, to ensure the Council meets its statutory obligations as outlined in the Welsh Language Wales Measure 2011. Diolch yn fawr.
Thank you. Do I have a second to that, please? Councillor Richard Church seconded it, please. Will all those in favour of the recommendation please show? Anybody against? No abstentions. No. Good, that's carried. Thank you very much. And thank you, Sandra, and thank you, Sean, and thank you all members who spoke and contributed to the debate. Thank you. We had a good discussion there.
Diolch yn fawr.
Diolch yn fawr. So we move now to item 6, which is the financial outturn for the year ended 31st of March 2023, in the name of Councillor David Thomas, the portfolio holder for finance. Thank you.
Thank you, Leader. As stated, the first report I've got from today's financial outturn for the year ending the 31st of March 2023. The report you've been provided with is a highly detailed report, so I'll try and praise through that for the purpose of this presentation. This report provides cabinets for the revenue budget outturn for the 22-23 financial year and proposes some year-end requirements for approval. The Council has completed its outturn processes to finalise the accounts for last financial year. The statutory financial statements are now being drawn together and the draft will be presented for audit at the end of June 2023. This year saw the Council managing its budget in an extremely challenging economic environment. Inflation reached a 40-year high, and this, together with the continued impact of leaving the European Union, the legacy of the COVID-19 pandemic, and the war in Ukraine, all created supply chain issues and rising costs, particularly for paying energy, fuel, contractual and borrowing costs. This created additional financial pressure across the Council services. The Council responded quickly and reviewed its plans to manage the budget, which were closely monitored and controlled throughout the year, with quarterly reports presented to Cabinet. Final outturn reports a net underspend after contributions to specific reserves of £6.7 million against the £221.9 million budget, a variance of 3%. This excludes schools and housing revenue accounts. The Council's financial position was improved by £3.3 million against the published February underspend forecast of £3.4 million. This was supported by additional grant funding provided by Welsh Government and the UK Government's Shared Prosperity Fund. The final position will release one-off funding to support the increasing pressure already facing the 23-24 revenue budget, particularly that related to teachers and staff pay, as continuing pay award negotiations are likely to create higher than expected costs. These funds will de-risk the Council's financial position in the short term, but does not reduce the ongoing base budget pressure that continues to create a gap in our budget plans for next year and future years. The actual outturn position across the Council services is summarised in Table 1 of the report, with further commentary provided by Heads of Service in Appendix A. The position for schools across the county is better than projections indicated. Budget plans at the start of the year have plans of calling reserves of £5.4 million, but the actual use of reserves was lower at £2.3 million, leaving schools with collective reserves of £6.3 million at the end of March. In April, Cabinet agreed that underspends achieved in 22-23 would be set aside to support future capital schemes and to fund the likely shortfall in the Council's pay budgets. It's therefore confirmed that £2,344,733 is transferred into capital financing reserve, and that £3,831,331 is transferred into pay award reserves to fund teachers and other staff pay awards. Cost reductions of £10.9 million were required through 22-23. 78% or £8.4 million of these have been delivered, with £2.4 million unachieved. £1.6 million of these were written out to the budget at budget setting, as they are no longer achievable. The remaining £0.8 million will be rolled forward for delivery in 23-24. Further detail about these savings and why they were delivered is set out in Appendix B. The reserves position is set out in Table 3, showing a net increase in the Council's revenue reserves of £3.9 million, with a closing balance of £67.8 million. Appendix C lists the service requests to set aside unspent funds as specific reserves to help support budget pressures next year. These total £2.686 million and include a proposed transfer of £906,707 to a specific insurance reserve. This will replenish the reserve to meet future liabilities. A review has been completed of the specific reserve set aside last year. £1.9 million has been used in the year, with £1.3 million retained into 23-24. Specific reserves that are no longer required can be released and will be transferred to the pay award reserve. The summary of the surplus and deficit reserve balances held by schools is provided in Table 4. Transformation continues to change the way we deliver services to our residents. This work supports the Council's financial plans by reducing costs to move the Council to a more sustainable footing for the future. During the year, £1.86 million was invested to deliver these changes. It's proposed that the remaining balance of £468,000 is carried forward into the new financial year to provide additional budget to support the ongoing transformation work. A report summarising the use of this funding, the savings delivered and the benefits achieved will be presented to the Transformation Board in July and will also be presented to other committees for scrutiny. With regard to environments, Section 7 of the report sets out the environment requests at year end and the grants received. It's proposed that the reserves requests set out in Appendix C are approved by Cabinet. These have been considered and approved by the Chief Executive in consultation with the Head of Finance and are now retrospectively proposed to Cabinet for approval. These reserves will fund identified pressures that are not funded within the budget approved for 23-24. The funding will only be released when expenditure is evidenced. Environment to transfer £751,899 of unused reserves to specific payable reserve is also proposed. At budget setting, Cabinet agreed to support the year, which had taken place in the MIBOD in 2024. The funding is required during 23-24, therefore Environment is proposed to release £150,000 from the reserves to support this. Section 7.5 sets out 5 other environment requests relating to transport, fund collections and education. Section 7.6 sets out the additional grants received this month from Welsh governments, and these are included in the financial outturn. With regard to capital, the capital outturn is reported in the next item being considered today. However, this does impact on the revenue budget as it supports cost of borrowing and recognises the future need to borrow through the minimum revenue provision budget. The revenue budgets were approved to support the original capital programme, but with actual spend significantly lower and with grants maximised to reduce the column borrowing, this has resulted in a £2.34 million underspend against budget. As agreed previously, these funds will be transferred to capital reserve to replace future years' borrowing and reduce the impact on the revenue account. Finally, Section 9 of the report highlights the ongoing key financial risks. I suppose, Leader, it's easy to reflect and think that perhaps the budget that was set initially was a little bit overcautious when we present an outturn of this nature. But I think it's just worth remembering that at the end of Q1, we were projecting a deficit of £7 million. And we reacted quickly and we did instruct managers, the aid of staff, to work as hard as possible to try and address a lot of the extra pressures that the services would have been facing through inflation, etc., during the financial year. And it's pleasing to see that a lot of this work has been very, very successful. And I think we should congratulate our managers and staff for their efforts on that basis. On top of that, I think we have to accept that the grant funding we received late in the year in particular from Welsh Government contributed enormously to this final outturn. And that will, as stated by the Chief Finance Officer, put us on a good footing to help us through this financial year, where the challenges still exist with regard to inflation, pay awards, etc. And just a warning, let's not lose sight of the fact that we're still faced with enormous financial challenges, and I think we're still forecasting about a £25 million deficit over the next 4 years as far as the medium-term financial strategy is concerned. Thank you, Leader. I'll put the recommendations up to any questions or comments.
Thank you, Jochen Val. Thank you very much indeed for your very clear presentation. Members, are there any questions? Jane, did you wish to comment at all? Chief Finance? No, nothing to add. Good. I've got a hand from Councillor Alec Davis, and then Pete Roberts, please.
Thank you, Leader. Did you want to take Pete first, or?
No, it's fine. Okay. You go ahead.
Good. Thank you very much. I made this comment before, possibly whether the looking back, whether the cabinet and officers overreacted and pulled back on expenditure too sharply. There's when it comes to capital, there are capital projects that have been delayed, and therefore there is investment in services that has been delayed, and the impact clearly on the residents of the county. But I must also draw attention to the social services. There's a 800, I think it's £800,000 underspent in the social services, and a further 700,000 spent in commissioning. That's £1.5 million. And this week, at the moment, I've got a resident stuck in hospital. She went in 9 weeks ago and she was ready to come home within a few days. She's been there over 9 weeks now, waiting for a care package to be put in place. And you have a surplus here of over £1.5 million. A care package cannot be put in place. She cannot come home to where she wishes to be. And everybody knows the longer the people stay in hospital, the worse the outcome. So I do worry. Quite frankly, it's unacceptable that this lovely lady is stuck in hospital and unable to come home. It's been an issue for a long time. I've asked the service about detox numbers, whether they have got worse over the last 12 months, or if I could have a little bit of a profile to understand the impact on this. But when you see an underspend in social services and commissioning of about £1.5 million, it's just not acceptable. Thank you, Leader.
Well, thank you for raising the issue. Obviously, it's probably not right to just discuss an individual case, certainly in public session, but I'm sure officers are well aware of it. I think the issue here is not that there's lack of funding in the system. It's finding placements, it's finding staff. These are problems that the council has been experiencing for some time, and it is a situation which is apparent across the whole of the United Kingdom. It's not a lack of money, it's a lack of resource in other resources such as staff, and the lack of care providers very often. That I'll allow the portfolio holder to come in here if she wishes to, or indeed the director. But as I understand it from my position, that this is, as you point out, there's an underspend, but that isn't the issue. The issue is finding the staff and finding the care providers to provide the care appropriately. But would the portfolio holder wish to comment?
Yes, and it's just to endorse what you said, Leader. It's not, and it's about recruitment and retention issues across the council, but it's also about care providers finding it very, very difficult to have full complements of carers as well. So these are ongoing pieces of work that we're doing in partnership with the Health Board and with our providers to try to remedy that problem. I don't know if Nina would want to come in and provide detail.
Thank you, Leader, and thank you, Councillor Shan. I think the Leader and Councillor Shan have covered briefly the issues that we have. Obviously, I won't go into any detail of any personal cases. That wouldn't be appropriate in a public setting. But it's not a case of money and budgets at the moment. It is really a case of the lack of availability of staff, recruitment, retention, etc. It's really challenging in the health and care sector at the moment. But we are working with partners, with providers, with the Health Board, etc., to do what we can. And we do have some recruitment events coming up in the future, and we'd be really grateful for everybody helping us to promote those opportunities, and also to promote in communities, the opportunities and job opportunities that we've got across the sector as well. Really rewarding jobs, and so hopefully we'll have a lot of interest as well. But Councillor Aled, happy to pick up with you outside. I know we've already had correspondence, but happy to pick up further with you on any individual cases. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Pete Roberts, please.
Thank you, Leader. I'd just like to echo Councillor David's appreciation of staff in the work that they've done on this, but I'd like to extend it to particularly finance staff who've been working in schools, and school governors and head teachers who've actually worked with them almost line by line in some cases to look at the benchmarking, look at comparisons across other schools, to identify best practice financially across the entire schools estate, because it's the hard work of people who are in some cases volunteers that have actually helped deliver the very significant turnaround in the school's budgetary position compared to where it was 6 months ago. And that's something that I know has been recognised wider than current with this council, but on an all Wales level, of the work that has been undertaken to pull out information from school budget spreadsheets to actually identify efficiencies that are not the traditional let's cut a member of staff's hours that have delivered where we are today. And I think that needs to be formally recognised.
Yeah. And thank you for that contribution. It's very helpful. Do I have any other people wishing to speak? No members wishing to speak? Good. If there's no further comment with the portfolio holder, I'd like to move the recommendation, please.
Thank you, Leader. One, that Cabinet note the full year outturn position for end of March 2023 and the variances reported against the approved budget. Two, that the environment transfer the £468,000 balance on the transformation budget as set out in section 6.3 is rolled forward to support transformation costs in 23-24. Three, the environment's proposals as set out in section 7 are approved. Four, environment at 7.2 relating to insurance and at 7.51 relating to the transport fund are recommended to council for approval in order to comply with financial regulations being requested for over £500,000. Thank you, Leader.
Thank you. Do I have a second to that, please? Councillor Jake Berryman has seconded. Would all those in favour please show? Is anybody against? So that's carried. Thank you very much. And whilst you have the floor, David, please take us into item 7. Capital outturn.
Thank you, Leader. The second report is the capital outturn for 22-23 as of 31st of March 2023. The report provides an update on the financial position of the council's capital programme for 22-23 as at 31st of March 2023. The approved capital programme totals £133.88 million, of which £25.55 million related to the housing revenue account. The programme will be updated during the year following the reprofiling of projects and additional grants received from Welsh Government. The revised programme is budgeted at £95 million, with actual spend amounting to £65.4 million, representing 69% of the total budget. 54% of the programme is funded by grants totaling £35.154 million. 33%, £21.48 million, is financed by borrowing, and £8.8 million financed from revenue, including reserves. Section 3 notes further grants received this year. Several schemes continue, and the reprofiling of these budgets in the 23-24 is shown in Table 3. In regards to violence, the capital strategy approved for 23-24 included £0.5 million funding for small projects. Bids were prioritised using present criteria, and funding was distributed to schemes set out in section 5.1 of the report. A business case was presented to the Capital Oversight Board, setting out the case for funding to carry out urgent capital works on the community equipment store in Newtown. This was supported by the board, and Cabinet are requested to approve an allocation of £0.22 million for these works. It can be funded from existing capital budgets that are not required at this stage. With regards to capital receipts, the sale of assets during the year generated a total of £2.93 million in capital receipts. A further £1.14 million of sales are agreed. These are at the legal stage of the process and will generate future receipts. That concludes my report, Leader. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Good. Do I have any questions? Chief Finance Officer, which department? No, nothing. Nothing to add. All very clear. I've got nobody indicating they wish to speak. No? Okay, fine. So would you move the recommendation, please?
Right. The recommendations are: 1, that the contents of this report are noted, and 2, that the requirements for section 3 are approved.
I'd like to second it, please. And Councillor Jake Berryman seconded. All those in favour of the recommendations, please show. Thank you. Good. Is anybody against? And no abstentions? No. Good, that's carried. Thank you very much. Thank you, David, for those 2 items. We move then to item 8, which is the delegated decisions taken since the previous meeting, which are on pages 111 and 12. These are decisions taken by portfolio holders with their delegated powers. Does anybody have any comments they wish to make about any of those? No? Good. Then we move to item 9, which is to consider the Cabinet Forward Work Programme, pages 113 to 116 in the pack. Again, as any comment, of course, this is simply an indication of the forward work and can be changed appropriately. Good. Right. Okay, we can move then into the next item, which is item 10, which is exempt under the monitoring officer has advised it needs to be considered in private session. But in order that we do that, I need a proposal that be done. Could I have a proposal that we move into, oh yes, Councillor Richard Church, seconded by Councillor Pete Roberts. Would all those in favour of moving into confidential session please show? Thank you very much. Good, we'll do that. Okay.
Chair, I'll just stop the recording.
Yeah.